Hey everybody, it's Christina from Redefine Creative, and I'm back with my second episode of Just a Little Sketchy, where I show you my take based on some sketch inspiration. And so today I'm using another PageMaps sketch, and this one is an 8.5 by 11, and I am going to create an 8.5 by 11 page. And I have this really old picture of me and my boys sitting on the couch reading a Toy Story book. And so I wanted to pull out and use a bunch of my Toy Story products because they are super fun and I love them. I've created a few layouts with these already. So I am taking white cardstock as always and backing my photo. And then I'm going to start flipping through all of this Toy Story paper that I have left. And this is from Cricut. And it comes in this pack where you get 2 sheets of each and they're all double-sided and they're super fun Toy Story patterns. And so I'm going to use this blue kind of rocket ship paper as my background. And it works perfectly because the book is blue and Parker's little pajama top is bright blue. And so I'm going to cut them to 8.5 by 11, but then I decide that I want to put it on some white cardstock to have a thin border around the outside. And so I'm going to end up going back and cutting it down a little bit. And that's just to kind of close it in and tie everything together. I felt like it needed the white. So I am going to go ahead and trim that piece of white and then make the blue fit onto the white. You know how it goes. When you make a little adjustment, then you have to change all the things. But I end up really liking how it looks. I also know that I want to use that orange-ish paper that has the stars because it also in the picture, my son's pajamas have orange, and then my shirt in the picture also has orange. So I definitely know that I'm going to get some orange in there. So I've got this Catherine Pooler Orange Twist ink pad, and I'm going to ink all my edges with that. And these ink pads, I know you guys have got to be like tired of me telling you about them and how amazing they are. I do not work for Catherine Pooler. I don't get any kind of commission. They are just seriously the ink pads that I just adore. And I have tried so many ink pads, you guys. So many. And hers are by far my favorite. So I'm going to go ahead and cut my piece of orange to be kind of in this strip position where it is in the sketch. I have sort of unintentionally eliminated that strip of pattern paper along the top that is in the sketch, and it's not going to actually make it onto my layout. And for some reason, like I had intended to stay closer to the sketch in that respect, but it just wasn't working for me. Like I felt like I just needed more space. I'm not sure why. So I'm using the orange as the strip that goes in the background, in like the background area. And then I'm trying to decide what else I want to do. So I'm going to go ahead and take my tag punch and I'm going to use some of the pattern papers that come in this particular kit to create some tags to go on top of my photo. And that's mimicking that detail that there is in the sketch. So I have 3 different pattern papers that I'm going to cut tags out of. So I use that green kind of halo star one. And then I'm going to come back in and make one with the rocket paper and then one with one of the other pattern papers as well. I'm also going to fussy cut this like woody badge out of some of the pattern paper. So this particular paper collection doesn't have any embellishments. It's just a set of paper. So every time I've used it, I've kind of used the pattern paper to fussy cut my own embellishments. And it's turned out super, super cute. I loved all the layouts I've gotten to create with this particular paper kit. So once I have him, I also know that I need some more tags on the top, so I'm going to go ahead and make those. And then I also know that I want to include some of the book covers. So there's a bunch of like comic book covers, and I've used them a few times already to create some really cool elements. And so I'm going to use those, and I kind of go off track a little bit with the sketch here once I get those incorporated, and you'll see the changes I make. But I really like the way that they look. And this ends up kind of being a little bit of a busier page in terms of the embellishments. And it's okay for me in this case that a little bit of the focus is not on the photo itself, only because it's not a great quality photo and it's a lot older picture. So it isn't necessarily my favorite. I know that's kind of sad to say. But because it isn't, it's okay with me that it's a little bit busier page and the photo gets a little bit more lost. Just because I don't want to draw a ton of attention to it because it just isn't my favorite picture. I am going to get this white block in here, and it's from the sketch, and she has it and then puts her journaling on it. And it's funny because I make a big deal about putting this black or this white box in the background, just like the sketch. But by the time I get done with the layout, you literally can see like maybe an inch and a half of the white, and all the rest of it gets covered up. And that's okay. So I'm going to go ahead and fussy cut these book covers, or these comic book covers. And I want to kind of make a little border along the bottom of my photo. And that's where I end up covering up the majority of this white cardstock. And then I'm going to also take a couple of them and tuck them into my other embellishment areas around my tags. And so as I start to build all of my embellishment clusters, you'll kind of see where I start to feel like I need to put a couple more of those covers. The lucky thing is there's a bunch of different ones, so I'm not really repeating that design in obvious places throughout the layout because I have so many different little covers to pick from. So I'm going to end up having 4 along the bottom edge of my photo and my block, and then I'm also going to have 2 more tucked into where my tags are. One is going to go right up here on top of this green tag, and then one over here by this blue tag. And I'm just kind of still thinking about where I want my title to go in terms of all of this as well. So she has it on that top tag that is like a longer extended one. Because my design is a little bit different, I don't necessarily have that little space. So I'm kind of thinking as I go about how I'm going to adjust for where I want my title to end up being. And once I get all this glued down, I will decide that there's too much of my tags showing and I want there to be less. And so it starts to bug me. Like you can see, I'm kind of finicky with them right now. I'm messing around with them a little bit, and I will come back and end up being like, nope, can't have this. They need to be more tucked in. So I go ahead and tuck them in a little bit more. I don't end up adding any string to the top, and I often don't put string in the top of my tags for some reason. I'm not really sure why I haven't been doing that lately. I do put some little dimensional adhesive behind this little Woody character, so it's going to stand up off the page. And then I'm just going to add in all those comic book covers to those same places that I had them before. But the ones on the bottom, I'm going to go ahead and put on dimensional adhesive. So that border down there is going to stand up off the page a little bit. And it just creates some more interest and dimension that way. So I'm just deciding what order I want to put them in, and then I'm going to stick that foam adhesive on the back of each one of those. And there isn't a big specific story about this particular picture that I wanted to tell. It's just me reading with my boys, which is a normal, like, everyday thing. I just thought it was a cute picture because Ty has, like, his mouth open and he's, like, I don't know, eating his thumb by the looks of things. And Parker looked really cute because he just has his hands crossed. Like, he's just sitting there, like, crisscross applesauce, listening to the story. So it's a cute picture. Not one of, like, the best quality picture, but it's cute, and I wanted to document it. So that's what we're doing. All right, so now I've, like, completely gone rogue off of the sketch. But the important part was the sketch gave me a starting point. It gave me something to kind of get me going with creating. When I may not have felt like I had a really like awesome streak of creativity or I was really in the mood, it kind of got me going. And sketches a lot of times will be the very first layout I do in a setting or in a weekend will be with a sketch because it just gets me going. And once you start, you guys, like seriously, once you do that first layout or you make that first background or make the mess, the creativity kind of starts to flow, at least it does for me, and it really helps me get in the mood to keep going and get a few layouts done. So I would highly recommend starting with sketches. And I have tons of resources. We post weekly sketches in the Facebook group, and I'll link that down below if you want to check that out if you haven't already. We post new sketches every Thursday, and we give out prizes for people who use them because they are a really good starting spot. So I'm just adding some of these Ellie Studio puffy stickers to each of my clusters and making sure I kind of have the colors spaced out. And then I'm going to end up carrying that element over. And you'll see where I come back and add in a few more. I do have my black Nuvo drops, which are definitely my most used Nuvo drop color. So even though I am just getting started with them, if I could like recommend one single color for you guys to start with, it would be black every single time. That is the one that I find myself like going to all the time. So the problem I'm trying to solve at this point when I pull out this random set of die cuts that just sits on my desk, and it's basically my leftover pieces. So different things that I haven't used from certain like kits and collections, leftover pieces and things. And I keep it on my desk for moments like this. So on that green star tag, I know it needs something, but I couldn't decide what. So that's where I pull that out, and I find this little Page Evans Horizon tag that says Adventure Awaits. And I can combine that with some more of my little why do I say heart? Star puffy stickers, and kind of continue that embellishment cluster in the diagonal across the page. And it's perfect because all my stars lead right into my title, which lead into the stars at the end. So it really looks like I intentionally created that line across the top of my layout to kind of mimic that line that I have underneath my photos. And that's going to do it. So this one came together pretty quickly, especially because I started with a sketch, and it got me to a point where my creativity was flowing and I felt like I could go on and create some more layouts. So hopefully you find inspiration from sketches too, and I'll be back to see you real soon. Bye guys.